week in the NFL, of course, concludes with the Saints in Detroit in about an hour's time here in the Mercedes-Benz Superdome. Looking forward to that. Ken Trahan, sportsNOLAtv. So the NFL scores otherwise are in, as they say. The returns are in, all 100 precincts. We have a winner. Brian, who's the winner for you? Winners.
Yeah, they're winners, yeah. I was impressed with the game last night. I thought Arizona obviously took care of business against Philly in impressive fashion. Carson Palmer, I don't think he's going to win the MVP, but he certainly should collect some votes. And then the other game, I mean, this was a game for the ages for many, many reasons. The Carolina Giants game. I mean, as good as it turned out, okay, that the antics in that game that I know we'll get into here were enough to make anybody that loved the NFL ashamed. That's all I'm going to say.
I tell you what was exciting to me was I have to agree with you about the Carolina Giants game. I thought that was an outstanding game. The Giants fought back, and Carolina didn't give up. But I tell you, that Pittsburgh-Denver game, Pittsburgh defense gave up 27 points in the first half and didn't give up any in the second half. I was real impressed with the defense. And that offense, that Steeler offense is on fire. Tough team to stop.
Vaughn, we were talking, have been the last few weeks. Is it time to bring Peyton Manning back once he's healthy? Now, that's important. Brock Osweiler, he just doesn't look like he's got it to carry this team. Heck, they now have to secure a playoff spot. There are no guarantees that they're going to secure a playoff spot.
I've always felt that when Peyton was healthy, that it was his job. I mean, he's a veteran. Mm-hmm. I mean, he's a proven winner. He lost his job to injury, and you know the old saying, you can't lose your job to injury. Well, that's not true. But I've always felt that he's the difference in that Denver team, along with that defense. When he's healthy and ready to play, I think they should give him his job back.
The most telling stat about the Broncos is they haven't scored a point in the second half in their last 3 games.
Wow.
So teams have made adjustments against them, and that obviously makes the case more for Manning if, in fact, he's capable of playing. And I think Brian's point about Arizona is great. There's no question they're one team that can absolutely challenge Carolina in the NFC, but so can the Seattle Seahawks.
Yes.
They just keep coming. Yeah, Russell Wilson's playing at an elite level. The defense looks like, well, the defense that we're accustomed to seeing. They're dynamite. They're going to get in. That's bad news for everybody else because they're the real deal. Very good football team, to say the least, and obviously that has to be a concern for others. And the Washington Redskins, who took care of business. They needed to win that game, and they did. And now they're sitting in a very good position to win the NFC least, or East, or call it what you might. It's not a beast, I can tell you that, with a little play on words, but they're in a great spot to be able to do so. They get Philadelphia on Saturday, and if Washington wins, they win the division. I think there's a pretty good chance they will. The Eagles, well, they've got some weapons, but they've also got Sam Bradford at quarterback. Speaking of which, Brian, they took a chance. I mean, they felt like Nick Foles could get you only this far, so let's try something else. It obviously hasn't worked.
Yeah, you know, when you look at the moves that Chip Kelly made during the offseason, he was going to sink or swim. And DeMarco Murray isn't a good fit, and you do have to wonder about him, about the quarterback, whether or not he's a good fit for what they're trying to accomplish. And so far, they're just like this. They're like a roller coaster. They're up and down. You're not sure what team you're going to get with the Eagles week in, week out.
Yeah. All right, so you look at the Carolina Giants game. It was a great football game, Vaughn, but obviously what went on from start to finish was disappointing. I think that's the right word. I don't want to give a word that's too strong here. I'd say disappointing on every end. Disappointing from Josh Norman's approach, disappointing from Odell Beckham's approach, disappointing from the officials' approach because they let it go too far. When you see this kind of chippiness happening from the very start, and not just Norman, but members of the Panthers taking physical shots at Beckham on every play, at the end of each play, well, the kid retaliated. And I'm not defending him because he went overboard. He went too far. He deserves to get fined. Anything beyond that is really up to the Rules Committee and to Roger Goodell. But obviously, you play the game. You understand how chippy it gets out there. Who do you fault there? Did the officials let it go too far? Do you think the players are at fault, or what do you think?
I think they let it go too far. You know, it's an emotional game, guys. It's a very emotional game. You know, tempers get heated up. The key is the officials got to jump on this early. They got to take control of this and let these guys know, warn these guys, warn them, let them know we're going to throw you out, we're going to throw penalties, and if you continue, you got to do what you say you're going to do. I think the officials could have controlled the game a little better than they did, but you got to fault both players.
I think they're both at fault, and I think Norman gets a hall pass here because everybody's pointing at Beckham. That said, when Beckham delivered that shot to the head, he should have been ejected from the game. And I say that as a big Odell Beckham fan and as a New Orleanian who watched him play in high school and has nothing but love and respect for what he's doing. He's an amazing player. But, Brian, that can't be part of the game.
No, you can't. And to me, there's several layers of this. And I think you hit on one. There is that emotional aspect. There are adults calling this game. To me, both players were very sophomoric and juvenile in their actions, okay? They let their personalities and their whatever their feelings for each other affect their performance in the game. Suddenly, the game wasn't as big as what it was one-on-one. The officials should have stepped in. There's no doubt that Odell should have been ejected for that helmet-to-helmet hit. And look, I think Troy Aikman and those guys did a good job recognizing that. Look, we're worried about people and concussions, players and head injuries and stuff like that. Man, that was a helmet-to-helmet hit. You can't do that.
No.
Okay, and then the other part of this is that I'm not sure Tom Coughlin, I heard Tom's comments after the game. He was letting Odell play. He wanted him to understand that you can't play this way. So whatever happens, Kenny, okay, in Tom's eyes, he's going to have to live with whether it be a fine.
Well, Tom said he'd address it behind closed doors, and he will.
Yeah.
And the NFL is going to address it in the open, so stay tuned for that.
Right.
All right, so 2 weeks left. Let's take a look at the playoff picture. First of all, in the AFC, and you have the New England Patriots, of course, will win the East. The Cincinnati Bengals atop the North. Denver in the West. And then in the South, of course, you got Houston, who's played how many quarterbacks? About 18 or something like that at 7-7. Kansas City playing fantastic football, is in a wild card spot. So are the Steelers. And look out for the Jets. They're knocking on the door as well at 9-5. Then there's a big drop off to the Colts and Jaguars, but they're in it for one reason. They can still win the division.
Yeah.
That's why they flexed the Saints-Jaguars game upcoming to a late game because of that. In the NFC, Carolina, of course, in a perfect position now. They're going to win. They're 14-0, not 14-2, but 14-0 to correct that. Arizona at 12-2, Green Bay at 10-4 top the North, and the Redskins atop the East at 7-7. In the wild card position, Seattle and Minnesota, both good football teams, 9-5, although Seattle humbled Minnesota. And then you got the Falcons because they won at Jacksonville. They're still in it. The Eagles and the Giants still in the division chase in the NFC East. So it's a pretty interesting playoff picture, Brian. And when you look at that, if I were a betting man right now, I'd say that there's a real possibility that wild cards will get to the Super Bowl. I think Seattle has a real chance. I think Pittsburgh has a real chance.
Yeah, if it stays like it is, Kenny, you're going to have 6 playing 3. So Minnesota goes to Green Bay, Seattle goes to Washington or the NFC East. Yeah, you could, Kenny, if let's just say Minnesota beats Green Bay, which is could be. All of a sudden you've got Seattle. If they take care of business, they go play Carolina.
Ooh.
They go to Carolina.
Ooh.
Now that's a game.
Great game.
That could be. Yeah, I'm
a head knocker, man.
I'm hoping for that one.
That's a Vaughn Johnson
Great.
game, man.
Love to see that game. The thing about Carolina is they're a very physical football team.
Yeah, they are.
They run the ball. They play great defense. And Cam Newton, he's the secret weapon.
Is Kuechly the best defensive player in the league?
He's got to be one of the top 1 or 2.
Yeah.
I mean, he's an outstanding linebacker. Makes plays. Humble guy. But boy, when he steps on the field, you love the way he plays.
You got it. And it is time now for our fun part of the show, our sportsNOLA.com trivia question of the evening. And of course, it's a Christmas-themed question. Merry Christmas. Ho, ho, ho. What current NFL quarterback is from Santa Claus, Indiana? There is such a place, and there is such a player. We're going to tell you who he is when we return in just a moment with our Hot Seat segment as Santa Claus visits us for his annual visit. Let's hope he brings some gifts in the process.